Vamos dar as boas-vindas ao painel. Jogos virtuais, slots e cassino ao vivo, fantasia e esportes são ferramentas poderosas para ter sucesso no Brasil? Vera Motto é Business Development Executive na Habanero e lidera em todas as operações para a América Latina. Extensamente experiente em vendas, gestão de contas e jogos, Vera tem sido fundamental para a rápida expansão do estudo pelo México, Colômbia e Argentina, e tem uma riqueza de conhecimentos locais em toda a cena de jogos da América Latina. Ivo Doroteia, CEO at Sporting Tech, com licenciatura e especialização em Direito Bancário e Financeiro, sendo criado numa família que possui gere cassinos, lotérias e bingos, e outras concessões em licenças, em vários continentes. Patrimônio do jogo é a formação acadêmica, bem como o evento na internet, tornaram-me natural entrar no negócio dos jogos online, tendo desenvolvido operações em várias áreas e jurisdições, trabalhando com regulações, escritórios e advogados, fornecedores e operacionadores. Os seus equipos trabalham em apostas deportivas, lotárias, cassinos, apostas deportivas virtuais, parimutuel, retalho há mais de 20 anos. Fabiola Jaeger, co-founder and CEO at Caleta Gaming. Fabiola atua na área de jogos há 11 anos, é cofundadora e CEO da Caleta Gaming, empresa que fornece soluções de alto nível para a indústria e gaming, focada principalmente no mercado latino-americano. Fabiola vem construindo uma sólida trajetória de crescimento e valor nos negócios. Ela é graduada de Sistemas de Formação pela UFSC, além de ser especializada em aplicativos móveis, programação de jogos, gestão de produtos e formação de equipes e gestão. Fábio Tiberia, Brasília Gaming Consult. Foi Country Manager Poker em Venezia em 2011. Gestor nacional brasileiro do For Club Poker. Também diretor de vendas em Technology Gaming, Malta. Parceria Pet Consult Software. Nos últimos anos, trabalhou em International iGaming Speaker.
Morning, all of you. Welcome to my colleagues and especially those who are watching us. This topic will hopefully bring new ideas and insight worthy of reflection. My special thanks to Elizabeth of CGS Group to make this event happen. And today we are opening a ticket referred a huge market, still is great, but absolutely showing impressive is Brazil market. Undoubtedly represent a new gaming frontier with outstanding records and numbers. Alongside Sportbook, which has been the prime mover in Latin market, we have new tools like bingo, casino, games, esports, to be emphasized the attention for a gaming industry. And just for have some numbers, for instance, a sport in the years in Brazil is growing 2%. And the prediction about the end of the year will be 28 millions of users. So undoubtedly, we have these tools are very important. So the topic today will be related to virtual games, slot, live casino, fantasy, and sport. And are those powerful tools able to succeed in Brazil? This is our topic. And let's start introducing my colleagues with you. It is in a specific field. We have Beramo, Business Development Executive at Habanero System. Ciao Vera, ciao, hello.
Ciao, hello everybody.
Ivo Dorotea. Hello everybody. Ivo Dorotea, CEO Sporting Tech, and Fabiola Jaeger, CEO and co-founder of Caleta Gaming. I just speed up the process of my introduction to leave to you to talk more. So Vera, let's start with Vera. Presently, where is Habanero operate in LATAM regulated market?
We are operating. Okay, thank you for the question, Fabio. We are operating in several regulated markets in Latin America. We are live in Colombia, in Argentina. We're also working in Mexico. We started in Latin America about 3 years ago. We had at first some opportunities with some of our global partners. Then we saw the atmosphere in the continent changing a lot in a positive way. Colombia regulated and launched the market, so we certified there. We are now live for a year and a half. We are also live in the city of Buenos Aires under the hybrid framework. And we received the approval from LOTBA just a few weeks ago, and we will launch shortly with other operators in the city of Buenos Aires and in the province of Buenos Aires. We are certifying in Panama, and hopefully Brazil will come next.
Okay, congratulations. And so what is perception about Brazilian market? This will be regulated?
The Brazilian market holds a lot of. The Brazilian market certainly holds a lot of potential for slots products too. It's a huge market, and the size of the market. So other key segment to grow, like number of internet users and mobile penetration is higher than in other countries in South America. So it's a very attractive market for us.
Okay, let's move on. So, Vera, ti ripropongo la seconda domanda, tanto poi la rincollano. So, what is your perception about Brazilian market to be regulated?
The Brazilian slots market holds a lot of potential. It's a huge country. With a population of 200 million people, like half of the Latin American continent. But not only that, there are also some other key factors that are very important for the development of the online segment, like the internet penetration, the number of internet users in the country, as well as the mobile penetration in the country. The medium age in Brazil is much lower than in Europe. So we have a whole new generation of players that we can attract. So it's a very, very interesting market for us.
According to your LATAM experience, like in Colombia, Mexico, Argentina, what slot do you think players will like in Brazil?
From our experience, Latin American is a very diverse continent. So I've seen preferences vary a lot, even within the same country. Operators can have different types of customer base. So I think like classic slots for us are working well pretty much everywhere, and table games are very important too, especially in some countries like Colombia, for example. Lately, though, having more and more operators are having access to more content and better content. So I see slots gaining a lot of traction too in the continent.
And what regulatory do you pursue in Brazil?
We are pretty positive because we are seeing that the regulation is proceeding and it's being debated in Brazil. We saw in the past weeks the discussion about the changing the taxation scheme from turnover based to GGR based. I hope that this will be confirmed, because I think this is one of the main points to make the legal market attractive and successful. So there are a lot of other details to be sorted out still. So we are aware that we might still need to wait some more time.
we are fighting for this turnover the change, and we apply the GGR, just the taxation, because it's impossible to run a business paying turnover. But let's move on with our second guest, that Ivo Dorotea. Dorotea, that is very experienced supplier in LATAM, Sporting Tech, anyone knows who they are. And Ivo, what is the formula to succeed in Brazil?
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the invitation and the opportunity to be here at TGS. Hello, Fabio. You just started with an impossible question. So basically, what we have seen as Sporting Tech and as suppliers that have been working on this market at least since 2015, we have seen a change and growth in the market. And with it, the punters' satisfaction and what they are looking for has also evolved. So in order to succeed in these markets, what we need or what operators should look for, it's not only a robust platform and solution and the best games in the market, the latest trends, but they should also try to have something that is localized. The very specific audience that we have over there in Brazil, they look for sports betting, of course, and what are the latest trends, but also they look for very specific products like video bingo, like esports that has that today represents a lot of what is going on the sports betting and all these related markets. So answering your question, the operators need, in order to succeed, of course, this is not an exact formula, but they need to be flexible and they need to be able to react with some strong products. So that's my opinion on it.
This is what happens in the green market. Hopefully soon have this wide market. I agree with you 100%. We know very well that Brazil is very wonderful market, but unfortunately it's very difficult to eradicate and have a real business, a good business like in white market. But anyway, let's move on to about the game's preference, estimated bets per year, project on each segment. What you are telling to me about this matter?
Answering your question, there are some key figures to consider when we talk about Brazil. Brazil has an estimated GGR of 77,000 billion, and that when we consider 77,000 billion, it's a huge number for a population of 210 million person over there. But also it's a country that has a lot of asymmetries, because you have low-income people that they need to live with less than €2 per day, and so when it comes to game preferences and what do they bet is very variable. So you have people on the street that are used to play on retail shops with jogo do bicho, and then you have more sophisticated punters that like to bet on sports and also casinos and other sophisticated products like virtuals, esports. So today we know that the market has a very impressive value. It has been growing a lot. But by verticals, betting represents around 50% of everything that is going on. Of course, these numbers are not accurate, because we are talking about a gray market that doesn't have official numbers. But the trend that we see is something around 80 to 50, and I need. From the data that we have available today, I think we can say 50% of it is betting, 27% is casino, state lotteries represent around 40%, and then you have the other games. So this for the online. Of course, when you're talking land-based, the numbers change. But nevertheless, considering the value of the market, the population it has, it's very interesting. For us, again, when you talk about each sport individually, if you want to go for the betting itself, sports usually, football or soccer, depending where you are, it usually represents the majority of the bets that we have. So it's very interesting for any European operator that is targeting Brazil, but is also very interesting for Brazilian operators or Brazilian investors that know this market better than anyone to start engaging on this industry. I do believe, as Vera mentioned before, this is a market that is being regulated. So we saw President Bolsonaro and the recent changes in the government last July, where they approved different tax for sports betting, and so the opportunity is there. The risk now is smaller. The understanding of the market is a lot better, and it has been professionalized from this last 6 to 7 years now. So it's a great market and it's a huge opportunity.
Agree 100% with you. I hopefully have this regulation as soon as possible. And let's go with Fabiola, the third one. Hola, Fabiola Jäger.
Hola. Hello.
Co-founder and CEO of Caletta Gaming. And I just speed up the process because I think we are a little bit late with the schedule. So how was Caletta Gaming born and what market does it intend to capture in Brazil?
All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. Caletta Gaming was founded in 2013, about 8 years ago, by me and Paolo. Paolo is the Caletta CTO, and we used to work together in the gaming industry, and then we have decided to create our own company. We are based here in south of Brazil, city called Florianópolis, such a beautiful city. And we are a provider of premium online and mobile gaming solutions, primarily focused on Latin market. As Ivo already told and Vera, Brazil is big, so that's why we have built a vast portfolio. So currently our portfolio consists of more than 80 games, including slots, video bingos, which are very popular in Brazil, and Kino, Lotto, and more recently we have added scratch cards, usually call it as raspadinhas in Brazil. So we try to capture the spirits of Brazilian people by presenting some cultural elements. What we as Brazilians consume as entertainment. So one thing that we realize that's important, we have changed some titles to Portuguese. So several titles we have been renamed to Portuguese, and we realize it creates a closer relationship with the players. So once you have the games localized, it is a good point to attract more Brazilian players. And in my view, as Ivo already told, everything is changing all the time, and the era of passive entertainment is over. Now people choose what to watch, when, where, how, and the same happens with any type of entertainment, from listening to music, reading books, or watching series, esports. So that's one of the reasons why we need constant innovations in casino games too. Otherwise, the games become boring. And we are very, very much looking for the gambling regulation in Brazil. So I can guarantee that Caletta will bring a lot of innovation when that happens. Then I trust will not take that longer anymore, but let's see. It's not something that we can control.
Based on your experience and the slot titles that you provide, what is the ideal mix and available book that your brand has?
We believe there are different types of players who like different type of games, of course. So as some people like games with more bonus, free spins, special features, and other people like simple games, like the classic games that pay more during the base game. So there's also the matter of the volatility of the games and hit rate. Some people prefer high winnings but less often, while others prefer smaller winnings more often. So, and besides that, there's also the fact of the game themes, the graphics, sounds. Let's say is a complex combination of different factors that may satisfy some and not others. That's why we are in Caleta, we are more and more looking to create new engagement features and innovate and bring more innovation, as well as make promotions with our customers, operators, aggregators to attract different types of players. And most important, I would say, is analyze the big data we have. Of course, we do not have all information about the players because it's something that we just store what we can. But we learn a lot from what we have from the data and how we can improve our games based on this information. So I would say when we discover the magic formula, it will be great, but it's not easy. And for sure, I will not share.
I'm sure. You know, in my experience in the gaming is started in 2006, and my experience in Brazil is more or less 10 years. So I follow up all the process, beginning with the sport book. Actually, my first experience was in 2009 with one company about the poker. Afterwards, in 2013, I started over my first operation in sport book. And I always thought, since 2010, that Brazil is like a Ferrari. You know, the car and is ready to achieve 300 kilometers speed, but it just a good driver and gasoline, paraphrasing. I mean, the driver is us, the competence. I sold many products in Brazil, and I saw many entrepreneurs, Brazilian, local, which they are not used to have a knowledge about the competence and technology. So the expectation in Brazil have people like us, company. For instance, my company, we used to help people to run this kind of business. And the most important thing that we are talking everyone is the gasoline. I mean, the regulation. Without regulation, it's very complicated to run a business like this. I mean, no rules, and we end up just to have a mess. And I think that we really need that. There are 3 years that we are fighting for this law, this bill, and hopefully in 1 year, 2 years, hopefully have these final words and final bills. So the first segment demonstrates how casino, slot, fantasy, sports are very powerful tools to embrace this wonderful market. And as we know, the successful business development in Brazil is one of the biggest challenges for our industry, because, you know, it's very versatile, and you need always be, as Ivo and also Fabiola told us, we need to be flexible. And so in this regards, where is Vera? Vera, are you there?
I can hear you.
Okay. Vera, I can see her. Vera, how Habanero system is approaching the market?
We are following the regulatory developments very closely and with a lot of interest. And at the same time, we are developing commercial partnerships in Brazil. And in terms of product, we are certified in more than 20 jurisdictions in Europe and Latin America. So you can imagine the challenges that we had to face and the adjustment that we had to make to our product. So now I think we have a very flexible product, and we are ready to adjust it to any other local specific requirement that might arise.
And what is your view of the Brazilian gaming market?
The Brazilian market is a huge market, so I think it holds a lot of potential. the size of the market is impressive.
Great. Okay, I can. Let's move to Ivo. Ivo, what is your project?
I'm
on
sorry,
each
but I
branch?
hear myself.
Bera, ti sento malissimo. Bera,
Me too.
non riesco a sentire bene. I can hear you properly. Okay, now I'm posing the question to Ivo. I can hear nothing to Bera, just a little a voice, but it's very low, a little bit. See, okay. So let's move. Okay, let's move to Ivo. Ivo, what is your projection on each branch of this betting vertical?
Well, by vertical, I do believe sports will always be leading the numbers, but we need to consider esports. Esports, the last projections I saw just for Brazil is that by 2023, it should surpass 1.5 billion. And you already saw this with teams like Vasco da Gama and Flamengo and others getting more closer with esports teams, like where you have League of Legends, pre-evolution soccer teams, etc., and they are generating millions of dollars. So I think we need, of course, to focus on the typical products that we have and that have been mentioned over here. But when you are an operator in Brazil, you also need to have something on esports, because this is something that the market is actually looking for, is actually investing in it. And so it can be interesting from several perspectives, not only as an acquisition tool, there you have a little bit more of work because it's not easy to make the crossover, but it is something that will give you some brand visibility, and it is easier to reach the normal punter and to have a more national vision and penetration. So I do believe you need to consider what you already have, but this is a very specific product, very localized, and you should consider if you are an operator trying to win this market. Some brands, as some well-known brands that we are familiarized, like Betson, for example, as we know, Entain also has acquired a company in esports. So the market is changing. It's not only just the typical pre-sports betting and casino. It's something more. So we just need to take that in consideration.
It's growing up. Actually, I think that the Brazil is the third country in the world, third market. We have the China, I think that is 385 million. I was reading, and Brazil really is outstanding numbers, 28 million at the end of the year. So it's very a big reality, and probably we will see what will happen. And regarding soccer, Formula One, MMA, fight, volleyball, and basketball, what do you think about this?
Okay, so again, based on reports from PricewaterhouseCoopers and companies like that, esports is very important. Although we know that mostly, again, on sports betting side, sports like football and soccer are the most relevant ones. We also saw NBA, for example, and American sports being considerable interest in the Brazilian market. Sporting Tech last year has integrated several suppliers, some of them specific for Brazil, but other suppliers that are transversal to other Latin customers, being, for example, horse racing. This is something that can be of success in Brazil. It is a product that can be sold very easily because it's very similar to lotteries. Again, as it was said on this panel, lotteries are of big importance. Raspadinha is something that it is looked for when you are a customer in Brazil. It is something that people actually ask for it. So if you can offer products that are, I'm not going to say tailor-made for this market, but are at least localized products that the people can relate with and offer it in just one solution, in just one platform, in just one site, let's say, I think that that is very important for the final customer. They will have a better service and a better product in the end of the day. So that's the investment that we did on our side as a platform, was to take the voice of the customer, understand what they are looking for in Brazil specifically, try to work with companies like Habanero and try to integrate their content inside our platform and make it available. So if you are in São Paulo, but if you are also in the north or in the south, you can always have everything available in just one end. So I think this is the basis of a long-term operation, a successful operation in Brazil. Being flexible and being able to integrate wherever the public asks for and demands in this market.
Absolutely. We understand every day that the Brazilian market is very. We need to. You can hear me? We understand that every day that the market is very comprehensive market, and so we need to integrate any kind of. Definitely, we know that we need to integrate more tools in the sport and in our sites, because we know that we need to understand that the market are like a comprehensive market. So with all the gadgets and tools that a market like Brazil deserve. So moving to Fabiola, Caleta Gaming improved the Kino, bingo, slot experience. So these strategic alliances are helping to empower your product in the sense that what other products are you planning to launch in Brazil?
Yes, as I explained before, we have a large portfolio, but that's not enough to succeed. Networking is a key point as well. So we have built very strong partnerships with several companies, and one of them is the RCT Gaming and Caleta Gaming partnership, which started around 2 years ago. Most of you probably know RCT has a very consolidated and classical game called Halloween, which was launched in the land-based market about 20 years ago. Yes, 20 years ago, something like that. So everybody knows Halloween, which it was and still is a big success in Brazil and also all over Latin America. So that game inspired us to create a family of games based on the original Halloween. Now we have Bingo Halloween, Kino Halloween, and what's the other one? I think is Lotto Halloween. And our intention is to bring the same feelings the people have when they are playing slot Halloween, and also, of course, bring some features from the original game. It has been a big achievement for us, and we know, of course, it's a slot game. It's a completely different math model from a bingo game, but even having different math models, we can bring some feelings and some features, and then people can feel the same that they used to feel when they are playing 20 years ago, 15 years ago, or even playing at the moment on the current legalized market. Besides that, our partnership with RCT Gaming, we have converted 5 of the most popular RCT games that are available in Latin-based and land-based market to the online market. So what I can tell you, players are really, really enjoying it. It was a great partnership. And with all this noise currently on Brazil about legalizing gambling, etc., I can tell you Caleta has been growing a lot. And recently, we have been nominated as Best Bingo Game Provider by EGR B2B Awards. But unfortunately, we did not win. Maybe next year. So for me, in my view, it looks like there's a new momentum for federal and state lotteries in Brazil. Both might be explored by the private sector very soon. So maybe ahead, when they are completely regulated, Caleta may distribute some of our games or even create a new ones for this purpose. As I mentioned before, we already have created raspadinhas, and they are performing very, very well. And one raspadinha is based on Halloween theme as well. So it's a good way is to move ahead and see what we can expect for this new momentum.
Wonderful. So we need to consider another game which is very famous, the Jogo do Bicho. Jogo do Bicho, as we know, is not just a gambling or just a game, but it's cultural. It belongs embedded into atavic gamble instinct of Brazilian culture. Some company, like for instance Bet Construct, which I operate for years, they start this process with the bingo, for instance. Talisman is called, and I think Jogo do Bicho is very important in this process, and obviously it's very sensitive issue because the king of this modality are the bicheiro. They are physical eradicated in the territory. So if the Jogo do Bicho survives, it's thanks to them. It should be very great if we could also regulate this kind of modality of gaming, which is very interesting and it's very popular, most popular than any other sports. And does anyone is planning to get close to the Jogo do Bicho, your company, or get some things with this modality, gaming modality?
Yeah, dangerous topic. So let's see what happens. The popularity of Jogo do Bicho is a proof of its success. It is something that has been around since at least 1940s, 1946, something around that. But it has been always been considered illegal. I do believe that with a amount of certainty of 90% that it's still illegal in 25 of the 26 states that you have. So it is something that we as a platform don't offer. There are some suppliers, I'm sure, out there that they offer it because in 2016, the numbers around Jogo do Bicho were around $4 billion US. So it is something that generates a lot of money. But again, it is something that it is not. Let's finish. No, let's simulate this. So Jogo do Bicho is worth. It was worth around. It is worth around 4.2 billion US dollars estimated. But again, there are other offers in the market, and there are other lotteries and other games that are also very interesting. Of course, they don't generate this amount of cash, but with the proper education and having the right laws and in place with regulators that are a little bit more conscious and looking for responsible gaming, I do believe this is something that will always be present, but it has to lose its influence or migrate to a legal perspective. So let's see what happens. This is very, very important product in Brazil. Let's see how it evolves.
Okay. And you, Fabiola, what do you think about Jogo do Bicho?
Funny, I was watching something on TV a while ago where they say that are only 3 things that can be considered really Brazilian ones. You, Fabio, as an Italian living in Brazil, you may guess. Do you want to guess? So first one, of course, is Jogo do Bicho. Second is samba, and the third one is caipirinha. So seems to be true. Of course, there are much more, but as we Brazilians, even someone that has never played Jogo do Bicho, of course, everyone somehow someday heard about Jogo do Bicho. It's very, very popular in Brazil. What I have to say about this is when the game is legalized, Caleta will be ready for it. But for now, it's not legal, so we are not creating this type of game at the moment.
It's very impressive reality in Brazil, and doing more related to the to attract investor in the right way. We have a bad example like Lotex 2 years ago. I end up and it's been very good. And also, I have another example. I'm Italian, so in Italy, 3 years ago, the governments create a bill like Decreto Dignità in brackets, that a bill which destroyed the market, imposing high taxation and media barriers, and they are collapsing the market. Italy is one of the huge market in the world, so we have a very like as well. We are a wet market, and Italy in 10 years produced a return of almost 180 billions just for so it's very a big income for our country. And also in Brazil, there is another issue that is related. Is the gambling is related to political and religious issue. Sometimes I heard that gambling is the evil, or some stuff like this. So it's very complicated sometimes to to advertise a product that to me is just gambling is not evil, or it's just entertainment. So I think that for the next years we can have really a good bill. I always underline this because otherwise we just talk like a duck, and we end up to do nothing. And because we depend from the politician, and we depend from what they are deciding, because without regulation, a green market is not good for anyone. And so without further ado, is my powers. I want to thank my colleagues, Fabiola, thanks so much, Ivo also, and Vera. And hopefully have engaged an interesting topic. And thanks so much all of you, and mainly to CGS, Elizabeth, and all the staff that help us to realize this topic. If someone of my colleagues, Fabio, if you want to conclude, say some words on consideration, please go on.
Thank you again. Thank you for this opportunity. And as you are saying, it's a shame that things are not legalized and not organized in Brazil, because everyone lose not having a regulation, the providers, the operators, and even the government, because the people operating on gray market, they do not generate any benefit at all. And besides, they generate some risk, etc. So it's not good. So we hope that this situation change and ahead, and we're going to be ready for this. Thank you, CGS, for the opportunity, and let's keep the fight and try to change this scenario as we can, because as I told before, we cannot change we cannot control, but we are doing all we can. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, Fabiola. Ivo?
I cannot hear you, Fabio. I'm just imagining what you're saying. I imagine that you're saying really nice stuff as always, but I cannot hear you. It seems that I have an helicopter just passing by. I cannot hear you. There is some break in the line. So I'll try to give a general answer, or if you want to put it on the chat, I'll answer directly your question. So thank you, Fabio. Fabio, that's a very interesting question. Brazilian regulation, it's one of the most important things in order to succeed in this market and build a sustainable business for the future. For me, this is a very important topic. With my background in law and always has been working with regulated markets, this is something that I'm looking forward to have probably approved by the beginning of next year. I do think we had some important feedback from the President Jair Bolsonaro, but also the new Secretary of SECAP, Gustavo José de Guimarães, that in last July they actually got some new taxation approved and this changed a little bit the way the tax is calculated, making the Brazilian market more attractive for internal investors, but also for international investors that now have a smaller risk, and they know that they will not operate on the red, because that was probably what was going to happen with the previous legislation that we had. So the inputs that we have from the market itself is that the intention of the government, and again, this is we need to be careful over here because we will have elections sometime soon, but the intention is there, and this is what we can measure. The intention in Brazil is to have legislation and a set of laws that can actually cater for operations while building some responsible gaming. So the industry will grow. It was interesting to see that the secretary also revealed that the government itself expects to collect a lot more money now with this new law, and they expect to collect around 1.5 billion reais instead of 380 million that they had forecast before. So the way the market is moving towards regulation and towards a more active and responsible market itself, it's very good for everyone involved in this industry.
Topic is emphasize like what is the most important action that the Brazilian government has to do. That is the regulation. This is the point. Otherwise, we are pointless. All our discussion could be just useless. So definitely, we are waiting for as soon as possible this bill, just to regulate not just the casino randomics, but also the sport book with fixed odds. And I think that we are we have the final countdown for this, and as soon as possible, I think I agree with you, Ivo. Probably 1, maximum 2 years, we could have our bill and to operate in a white market that Brazil deserves. Otherwise, this Ferrari will not have the fuel to run to speed at 300 kilometers. So,
agree, Fabio.
I'd like to thank you again, all of you. Obrigado, Fabiola. Muito obrigado pela sua presença. Thank you so much, Ivo.
Obrigado, Fabio. Obrigado, Fabiola and Vera.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Grazie tantissimo, Vera, che è con noi anche Vera. Hopefully to talk soon about this white market, which will be Brazil. Okay?
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone. Keep safe.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.